City Crisis from Take-Two Interactive is the type of game that you're going to look at and it's either going to be easily recognizable or something completely new and different. When you first look at the game, older gamers might be reminded of the arcade classic Choplifter, but most people are going to look at this game and see a concept that pretty much hasn't been explored. While the game isn't especially amazing to look at or play, City Crisis scores some big points for originality. This game doesn't hesitate to put you right in the heat of the action. The bulk of the game is spent piloting a helicopter over a large city, doing whatever it takes to ensure the safety of the people down below, whether it be fighting huge fires, rescuing those in danger, or pursuing criminals on the loose. While there's 3 short training missions to practice your flying, rescue, and firefighting skills on, for the most part, as soon as you orient yourself with the mechanics of the game, you're thrown headfirst right into the action. City Crisis has several different types of missions. There's rescue and firefighting, where you've got to quickly find a burning building, extinguish fires, and rescue anyone in sight and bring them back to safety. There's also a chase mode where you follow around a criminal with a high-powered searchlight so that the police can apprehend him. In addition to these type of missions, there's also 2 additional ones you can unlock, one called Disaster and one called Final Rescue. Controls in this game take a little while to get used to. Use both of the PS2's analog sticks to pilot the craft. The left stick moves you left and right and forward and backward, and the right stick manages your height and your turning. And the O button, that lowers and raises the rope that you bring the people back into the helicopter with. And the shoulder buttons also come into play as well. The L1 button gives you a speed boost so you can go a little bit faster. And the L2 button lets you hover in place, which is required to use when you're rescuing victims. And for those of you that might find the button juggling a little bit too much to handle, there is an option to automatically hover available, which does make things a little bit easier. The R1 button controls the higher powered water missiles that are really helpful when you want to put out large fires quickly. And R2 is just a standard stream of water. Now, while the control scheme is not that complicated on paper, but in the game you're going to find it somewhat cumbersome and hard to navigate your helicopter through the many high-rise buildings that you'll encounter during your mission. And one of the main gripes with this game is just how difficult it is to judge your height and distance from buildings. In some of the more fast-paced chase missions, you find yourself running directly into the side of skyscrapers, damaging your helicopter. Now, this frustrating situation could have been aided with an option for a different view, or even a more dynamic camera, but as it is, you're stuck with the same isometric view throughout the whole game. Now, visually, City Crisis isn't that impressive for a PS2 game. In fact, the textures in this game are pretty bland and blocky, and it looks something more like you would find on a PS1 game. But to its credit, the game does have a solid frame rate, and it doesn't really slow down at any points, even during the most intense action. However, it's kind of a shame to see a game that doesn't even really attempt to stretch the graphical limits of the PS2. As a whole, City Crisis is a pretty decent game, and it's challenging enough even for the most experienced gamers, and you might even have some trouble unlocking those final levels. Most of the people out there are going to find that the fast-paced missions are enough to keep them satisfied. While it doesn't take full advantage of the PS2's power, City Crisis does manage to be in a class all its own, which these days is something to take notice of.